Shalom. Giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. News and prophecy, where we link the things happening worldwide to the Holy Scriptures, giving the faithful elect the remnant of Yasha Allah, the true biblical Israelites, the understanding that all of the things happening worldwide are a result of biblical prophecy as we are embarking on the end of Esau's world, the end of an empire. All right. Empires come and empires go. Prophetically, the final empire that will rule will be the revival of the Western Roman Empire, which ultimately we know fell for a period of 1,000 years, bringing about the rise of the Eastern Roman Empire ruled by our people, which is history that was hidden, now coming to light through the true prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Now it's common understanding that our people ruled during the Dark Ages, okay? But via the bubonic and the bubonic plague, 2/3 of our people died off and were weakened, all right, for the purpose of prophecy being fulfilled of Esau, Edom, reviving the fourth beast, Rome, into the earth via the Renaissance period, all right, which brings us to today, all right, from Italy, started the revival of the Western Roman Empire, all right, the revival of the Greco-Roman Empire, and from the Italy, you had Spain, French, okay, the British, America, the small hats, all right, the development of NATO and the EU, and now you have yourself a beast system which dominates the world under the authority of the ancient Western Roman Empire, but now is heightened via technology, science, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and power on the left-hand side to deceive and throw off enchantments into the earth. And the Heavenly Father is just about done with these devils. All right. Proof that these devils are bringing back the energy of the ancient Western Roman Empire. Before we get into this lesson, Elon Musk backs pivotal archaeology initiative, says AI could help rewrite history books on ancient Rome. Why are these devils so infatuated, okay, with Rome? Elon Musk is putting money towards a digital renaissance of archaeology. Meanwhile, you Americans are on your knees begging, waiting for the devil to ease up. He's playing with your mind. With this government reopening, he's playing with your mind with the food stamp, just causing instability in people's lives. Now he's promising to give you $2,000, and we're going to show you how really that's your money as a result of the tariffs, which a tariff usually falls on the consumer as higher prices, which is nothing but a tax. So now they're promising you, throwing out the idea of giving you $2,000. All right. Well, like Manny Fresh said, and then what? Okay. These devils are at the very end of their empire. And as the scriptures say, Sirach 10:8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. See, Unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit describe the powers that be, the modern day Chaldeans, who were prophesied to sit in the dust in these latter days. And that's what we're witnessing. Why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. All right. And not only does he covet land that's not his and resources that aren't his, he's coveting your soul via this new digital Tower of Babel that he's setting up worldwide, right in your eyes. Okay. For such as one setteth his own soul to sell. And this is what Esau Edom did when he gave up the birthright. Now he rules the whole entire planet Earth. Okay, trying to forge a eternal blessing into the earth via his science and his technology. Because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels. And that's pretty much the mentality of the people under the ruler. Okay, they throw their souls away for, instant gratification. All right, the concept of fast food, that all goes back to Esau. His spirit has not led to righteousness being spread in the earth. It's led to a bunch of proud, self-destructive monsters, all right, who now have access to cell phones and keyboards and just walking all over the earth, just making a mess. The physician cutteth off a long disease, and he that is today a king, tomorrow shall die. See, the physician, all right, which the scriptures tell you Yahweh Shah is coming with healing in his wings. All right, the main healing is the new bodies. Okay, but for the earth, okay, we know we're going to implement the law. Okay, but cutting off this disease. All right, when we talk about putting the elites of this world into captivity, you have regular Edomites. We're not worried about you. Although, just like in ancient Egypt, all right, the smaller class fell along with the elites of Egypt. All of y'all lost. We're not worried about Ned, okay, and Mali, okay. We're the elites of this world, okay, are a disease. And as you look out into the world today, it's clear that they're a disease. This is why we're ending the near of their empire, because the Heavenly Father gives these different nations, right, their particular bound. Let's get that. Job 14:5, seeing his days are determined and the number of his months are with thee. See, the Lord has a set appointed time for these heathen to rule. And prophetically, the final ruler would be the revival of Rome, the fourth beast. Okay? Thou has appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Okay? So his bounds are just about up. And the concept of the end of the world is not a thing where the whole earth blows up like Esau likes to tell it. No, it's just the transfer of rulership into the hands of the righteous. Esau represents the end of this age, and Jacob represents the beginning of a righteous kingdom being set up on earth under who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So this word for bounds is chaka, statute, ordinance, limit, right? Something prescribed. So the Lord, all right, as you have a group, ISUPK saying that there's no such thing as predestination, the Lord has prescribed through his word how long empires would be on top and when they would fall. Okay, they have a limit, a prescribed portion. All right, is before scribe written down. So before the foundation of the earth, the Lord already wrote how this all would play out. And we can find it in prophecy. Okay, conditions. The conditions of Esau Edom ruling was never to rule forever. So he has his portion, right? And as the scripture said, Okay. The number of his months are with thee. His days are determined, and he cannot pass his bounds. This is why they are coming down with great wrath. As we always bring out Revelation 12 and 10. All right, 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, everything suffering at this devil's hands. If you're on earth, you're suffering. If you're in the sea, you're suffering. The ecosystem's thrown off. Life is thrown off. Justice is thrown off. Air is thrown off. Water is thrown off. Men, women, and children are thrown off. Okay, all of the foundations that the earth need to flourish are thrown off. And that's being called out via this testimony we have. So the devil is coming down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth he hath but a short time. Okay, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 22 and 21. This is Daniel 2 and 21. This is Daniel speaking of the Most High. And he changeth the times and season. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge unto them that know understanding. So he removeth kings and he set up kings. See that? He removeth kings and he setteth up kings. Okay? Psalm 75 and 5, lift up not your horns on high, speak not with a stiff neck, for promotion cometh neither from east, nor from west, nor from south. Okay? But God is the judge. He putteth down one, and he setteth up another. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red, and is full of mixture. He poureth out the same, but the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. Okay? So, verse 10, all the horns of the wicked, horn represents power, also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. So we're living at the end of Esau's world, man. Okay? We're living at the end of this wicked and demonic empire. Okay, America is on the brink of a historic collapse.
Something is breaking in America. Not slowly, but all at once. The nation that once produced half the world's wealth now carries over $37 trillion in debt, more than its entire economy. 1 in 5 households can't afford groceries without credit. The middle class that built skyscrapers in suburbs is vanishing, while
the thick clay, the debt, which is biting him in the ass. And this has been the fate of most empires, especially when you deal with this beast system, the Spanish, the French. Okay, it was always a strong currency. Okay, ancient Rome. Okay, we're witnessing history repeat itself, but America is on the brink of a historic collapse. Let's get that in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. Okay. Habakkuk chapter 2 and 5, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, his philosophy, his science, all right, his pseudoscience, that is, right, his technology, which that's his religion, transhumanism, you know, making his own version of fruit, you know, air, water, human, hijacking sex, you know, creating, you know, robots to be surrogate mothers instead of just letting men and women, you know, right? You look on the internet and all you see is a gender war, okay, which some of the things need to be heard, but overall, there's a gender war. Okay, what empire could afford itself when men and women don't get along, and all they do is just get on the internet and argue back and forth with one another? It destroys relationships. It destroys life itself. You fill the men's head full of poison. You fill fill the women's minds with poison. We're living in a situation that must be corrected by divine intervention. His wine has everyone drunk. Okay. It's to the point where it cannot be fixed by, all right, just saying, okay, we need to stop. No, the Lord, with all of these empires, there was a point where he said, enough is enough. Okay. The time of the flood, Sodom and Gomorrah. In each empire that rose, there was a point where it became so corrupt and the leaders became so proud that the Lord put a stop to their madness. And if you don't think that's getting ready to happen here, as we've seen it happen throughout all history, then you got another thing coming. See, a lot of you think even with the reopening of the government, if they do that or if they give you a strength, I think, no, these elites, they have to continue. They're going to continue on this road of dehumanization, humiliation, putting you in hope, being the devil, right? He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied. He will not stop until he has your soul on a digital grid and everybody microchipped. He can't just enjoy the power he has and be a fair ruler and go and, have a bunch of children and enjoy his wealth. No, he wants your soul. Meanwhile, he wants to sleep with a little boy. Okay. A trillionaire. All right. Who gets off because, sex, with these devils, it comes a point where regular sex is not enough. See, and that's the spirit that has been passed on to you Israelites via following this man's wicked way. You've become degenerate, just like them. Okay. Running trains, sleeping with animals, sleeping with the same sex. Okay. These are things that now plague Jake. You're the face of it. But who are you mimicking when you do all of these things? The devil. Okay. Esau. But gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. He wants everything under his control. And because freedoms have been a thing here in America, they're systematically breaking them down and putting you all in position of where you're going to be dependent on them. All right. With the economic woes, you're going to depend on him to give you some form of relief. That's what's being set up here with this $2,000 universal basic income test that they're getting ready to bring to you people. And we'll get to that. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? All of the nations are now taking up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and particularly, all right, the West and the small hat. Everyone's looking at them sideways. Okay? When you look at all of the funding and the money that this devil is giving to these different countries and it's all small hat. Whether it be Argentina, a large small hat population, president's a small hat. Okay, which they try to take it off of his Wikipedia page because everybody's figuring these devils out. When it came to C-19 in 2020 and that fiasco, who was at the forefront of it? The small hat. Who benefited from it? The small hat. When Trump passed Operation Warp Speed, okay, these big pharma companies headed by the small hats benefited from, all right, accelerating, all right, VAXs to give to the people. That made their pockets fat. Meanwhile, you walking around with dinosaur DNA inside your ass. And I saw a comment from a believer who said before they, knew good enough, they took one, And, for you believers, who, the Lord, my thing is just get you some, first pray to Yahweh Bashim Shai, repent. All right. But get you, find you some form of detox, but get pine needle tincture. Get you a pine needle tincture, which you can make that on your own. All you have to do is go on the internet, how to make pine needle tincture. You can Google, just type in how to make pine needle tincture because pine needles come from the earth. You can go get them yourself or you can buy them online, make a tincture out of that and take it every day because that's what people are using to detox all right, the juice out of their body. Okay, but may the Lord be with you if you are sincere, truly calling on the names, and you made that mistake. Okay, just all I can say is pray to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, find you some form of detox, get you some pine needle tincture. Okay, which I made one for myself, right, and family, because guess what? That's good. That's a high, it's high in vitamin C. Is good for, you know, chest problems, getting sick. Period. It's just good for you. So, and look up. There's people online talking about what they're doing to detox themselves. So pray to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai and detox. But again, getting back to the point, Habakkuk 2:6, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth in that which is not his. All right, he's gotten rich with other men's money. Okay, through unjust weights and balances. All right, this fractional reserve banking system. Okay, which eventually you lose because of your own greed. Eventually, a system like this will explode and implode on itself. Woe to him that increaseth in that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Thick clay speaks to debt, which is one of the biggest issues with this kingdom. And it doesn't have to be this way. But you're living under the rule of a devil. Ibat yat. Weight of pledges, heavy debts. See that? Unjust, all right, practices, man.
Tents rise in their shadows. The dollar trembles, cities hollow out, and the world quietly turns away. This isn't just another downturn. It's a historic unraveling. Every sign, from collapsing tourism to soaring foreclosures, whispers the same truth. America is no longer unshakable. It's breaking. For decades, the American dollar was the foundation of global trust. Today, that trust is fracturing. The United States carries $37 trillion in national debt, and interest payments alone are now larger than the entire defense budget. Every minute, the nation adds nearly $120 million in new debt, a ticking clock echoing across Wall Street and Washington. The bond market, once America's safest asset, is now trembling, with foreign buyers quietly stepping back. Nations from China to Brazil are trading in their own currencies, signaling a slow but historic retreat from the dollar's dominance. Inflation.
Okay, as the scriptures say, Jeremiah 51 and 44. I will punish Baal in Babylon and bring forth out of his mouth that which he swallowed up, because he's able to keep you in a rat race in debt while he holds all of the gold, all of the resources. And that's just not a right way to rule. Now, it's nothing wrong with putting interest on your subjects, but there has to be a point, all right, where come on, man. Yeah, the law allows us to put usury on a heathen, but it's not to the point that these devils are doing it. Okay? Fractional reserve banking, man. Okay, well, there's just a bunch of empty money floating around being loaned out with interest. Interest is usury. Okay? As a matter of fact, it says here, I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he swallowed up, all of the riches and resources, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. So you see these nations, all right, like an example of this is the BRICS, right? The BRICS, which is, headed by Russia, all right, which is basically a currency being created, which is going to be digital when it's all said and done, to trade and operate outside of the dollar, which the dollar reigns supreme. If you want to trade in oil, if you want coffee, if you want gold, you have to eventually deal with the dollar. Well, the dominance of the dollar is falling. The trust of it is not what it once was. America is not what it once was. The West is not what it once was. NATO is divided. the USSR is being formulated with even more countries aligning with Russia. Okay? So what we're witnessing is a shift as the elites are done with the concept of Babylon the Great in America being the dominant. Okay? Your civil liberties, your rights, your ability to travel abroad, all of these things are getting ready to be hijacked for the purpose of the NWO and the elites fully honing in on Godhead on the earth. But the Lord is breaking it up. See? So the nations are no longer flowing through to Babylon as they used to. Babylon is what? Prophetically, Salakia. Isaiah 47, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There is no more throne. O daughter of the Chaldeans, thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. See that? So now is the time for America to sit in the dust, a position of confusion. Your leaders are stupid. Whether you go Democrat or Republican, a complete fiasco and a mess. America has become a shit stain in the earth. See? You're sitting in the dust. You're being uncovered for who you really are. And the Lord is formulating your demise.
May have eased on paper, but reality tells a harsher story. The average American household now pays $1,162 more per month for the same essentials they bought in 2020. Real wages are stagnant, savings have evaporated, and credit card balances have hit an all-time high of $1.14 trillion. This isn't prosperity, it's survival on borrowed time. The Federal Reserve calls it stabilization, but it feels more like managed decline. Every empire's collapse begins not with invasion, but with overconfidence in its currency. When faith in the dollar cracks, everything else follows. The housing market, job stability, even political unity. The rest of the world can see it. BRICS nations expanding, global reserves shifting, gold accumulation hitting record highs. America's greatest export, its financial credibility, is now its most fragile product. This economic erosion is not isolated. It's the first domino in a chain reaction. When money weakens, housing collapses. When people can't buy homes.
And see, the strength of the dollar is really the sword. All right. Or the threat of what happens to you if you try to operate outside of it. Well, now these nations are armed. They're allied with other countries. And they're looking at the bully. All right. Balking at it. Saying, woe unto him that increaseth in that which is not his. See? So they're getting ready to go to war, and the bankers benefit from war because they loan out money for people to these countries to get missiles. And when it's all said and done, they can send their corporations to clean up the mess and take over, rinse and repeat. And Babylon has been used for this purpose for ages, but we're coming into a time where it's not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work. And the wicked elite are being addressed through this testimony we have, because that's who's at the forefront of this mess that you see in the earth. It's not the poor. The poor, you get people getting on, internet, mad about the poor getting SNAP benefits, which every working class family should get SNAP benefits. The working class. All right. That should be a standard, because the money that you make from your job is not enough to pay rent, and have a decent amount of food, for the month. Okay. And remember, SNAP benefits was originally for white farmers to keep them afloat. See, SNAP benefits just keeps the poor afloat. Corporate welfare keeps billionaires rich, and they don't use the billions that they get in tax breaks. Okay. Bailouts, loopholes being, they don't use that to up the pay for their employees, their slaves, or give them a more comfortable life. No, they use the corporate welfare, which is far worse than the welfare you people are on the internet complaining about. Right? It makes these billionaires richer because they don't want to pay taxes. Everything that they're doing falls upon the working class, which is no more middle class now. It's rich and poor. It's just that you have upper poor and lower poor now. There is no middle class. And when it's all said and done, it's just going to be rich and poor. Ain't going to be no upper poor. They're squeezing the little resources out of the middle class that they can with everything that they're doing now. Okay? While they're playing in your face.
Consumer spending falls. When cities lose revenue, jobs vanish. And when jobs disappear, nations lose faith. What we're witnessing isn't just a financial downturn. It's the systematic unraveling of a global power built on debt, illusion, and denial.
A global power built on debt, illusion, and denial. That's the American empire.
The question is no longer if the dollar will stumble, but what collapses next when it finally does. As the dollar weakens, the foundation of American life, homeownership, has become an illusion. The median home price has surged past $431,000.
And they're doing that all on purpose. Now, listen to a little bit of this one. And you see the titles of these videos. All right. He does decent work. Wall Street Trapper. It's happening again. The collapse nobody's ready for. Because this thing is getting ready to collapse. Okay? It's not if, it's just when.
Rome, Spain. Every empire falls the same way. Rome, Spain, Britain, and maybe America. It always starts the same. A strong currency, a powerful economy, and a belief that nothing could go wrong.
Right.
But then they print too much money. The debt piles up, and the history does what it always does. It repeats itself. And this week, something massive happened. And I really want us to lock in. Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Meta, Google, the other big dogs in the market. We just waiting on NVIDIA. These are the companies that define innovation in America. And they just sent the market a message. Not to mention, now we have OpenAI flirting with $1 trillion IPO. And the question now is, are you paying attention? Now, this week shook the market. But before we get into any of that, I need you to like, I need you to subscribe, and I need you to share this out. I need you to help me get at least 2,000 likes to help you just see the market a little different. This is not financial advice. So make sure you take the information that I get, that I think I need to be buying and be adding to the Robinhood portfolio. I looked in the last video, we start the next decade of wealth. All right, let's start with Apple, Amazon, Google. They soared through the market this week. I'm talking about they went crazy, right? Like we saw the market actually being dragged down because of Meta and because of Microsoft, right?
So you can watch this video. What I really wanted to focus on was this, what he said in the beginning, because, you know, it's certain brothers into markets and all of that. You know, I tap into it a little bit, you know, but overall, you know, I just wanted to hear the first few seconds of this guy's video. This brother, you know.
Every empire falls the same way. Rome, Spain, Britain, and maybe America. It always starts the same. A strong currency, a powerful economy, and a belief that nothing could go wrong. But then they print too much money.
Right. And that happened in ancient Rome. The denarius became what? Tainted with lesser metals. You had inflation. You had shrinkflation. And you had eventually moral decay and collapse. Okay? So everything, all right, is getting worse for Babylon the Great. Okay? Now you see Elon Musk says Optimus robot will replace jobs and enable universal, all right, income. We told you that these devils were bringing it here. Okay? And the scriptures tell you, let's get that in Sirach, Sirach, the 13th chapter or the 12th chapter. Okay? And see these unjust weights, all right, and practices by the elites are going to be addressed by the Heavenly Father. James 5:1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, right? And shall eat your flesh as if it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. So your gold and silver is cankered. Canks. All right? Like them two Edomite women called Trump. Canks. Because he got them swollen ankles, and now they talking about making America healthy again. But as we'll show you, if the time permits, they're flipping on all of their promises. NLT, your gold and silver has become worthless. Your wealth you were counting on will eat away your flesh like it was fire. This treasure you have accumulated will stand as evidence against you in the last days of judgment. So the wealth gap, the resources that they have, all right, while everyone's just running in this rat race, will be a witness against them for judgment. Because these people are sick. When you deal with the elites of this world, they're sick. As a matter of fact, let's play some of this. Chris Hedges, which he's rubbed elbows with these elites. He comes from a rich family background, but he's one who said, I started to pull back and look at everything, and he's out, all right, as one fulfilling a prophecy where their own tongue is falling on themselves. It's called Chris Hedges, The Warped Psychology of the Rich.
The rich are different from us, F. Scott Fitzgerald is said to have remarked to Ernest Hemingway, to which Hemingway allegedly replied, yes, they have more money. The exchange, although it never actually took place, sums up a wisdom Fitzgerald had that eluded Hemingway. The rich are different. The cocoon of wealth and privilege permits the rich to turn those around them into compliant workers, hangers-on, servants, flatterers, and sycophants. Wealth breeds, as Fitzgerald illustrated in The Great Gatsby and his short story, The Rich Boy, a class of people for whom human beings are disposable commodities. Colleagues, associates, employees, kitchen staff, servants.
They look at human beings as disposable commodities. Okay? What's that in the book of Habakkuk? Right? Habakkuk 1 and 13. Art thou not of purer eyes than to behold evil, and can't look on iniquity? Why then do you look upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devour the man that is more righteous than he? As the scriptures say, what's that in the book of, is that Ecclesiastes? His own hurt. See, the way you devils have ruled, this is the book of Ecclesiastes 8 and 9. All this have I seen and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time when one man ruleth over another unto his own hurt. See? Into his own hurt. There's a time when one rules over another and does so much wickedness that it becomes to his own hurt. Okay? Ecclesiastes 5 and 8. If thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in the province, marvel not at the matter. For he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. There is a sore evil which I have seen under the sun, namely riches kept for the owners thereof to their hurt. To their hurt. Okay, Esau has done so much wickedness, is getting ready to work against him. Okay? This is what they do, the Chaldeans. Habakkuk verse 1 and 14. And makest men as the fishes of the sea and creeping things that have no rule over them. This is how they treat humans, as fishes in the sea. Throwing out, traps for them. Okay? Creeping things. They look at you as roaches, cattle, worms. Okay? They don't regard God-given rights and humanity. There's a way to rule over people, all right, but still be just. He hasn't been that example. They take all of them up with an angle, whatever they throw out there. I just like this $2,000 we're going to discuss. They catch them in their net. They gather them in their drag. Therefore, they rejoice and are glad. See, they rejoice when they catch these people up with all of their lies, their politics, okay, their promises. Therefore, they sacrifice into their net these different gods and goddesses and burn incense into their drag, whatever enchantment works, because by them their portion is fat and their meat plenteous. Shall they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations? Habakkuk is asking, is there going to be an end to this? And then the Lord gives him a vision of the nation he's going to end it through. All right, which are going to do what the ancient Chaldeans did, but on a whole higher level.
Gardeners, tutors, personal trainers, even friends and family bend to the whims of the wealthy. Associates, employees, kitchens, human beings are disposable commodities. Colleagues, associates, employees, kitchen staff, servants, gardeners, tutors, personal trainers, even friends and family bend to the whims of the wealthy or disappear. Once oligarchs achieve unchecked economic and political power as they have in the United States, the citizens too become disposable. Public faith.
Now, what is an oligarch? We hear that word all the time. Let's just look it up. What is an oligarch? Oligarchy definition: a small group of people having control of a country, organization, which America is an organization, or institution. Okay? So, a form of government where power is held by a small elite group of individuals, and your president, through blackmail and through, wickedness, he's given power over to these tech trillionaires. So the agenda of the world going forward is in the hands of technocrats, transhumanists, scientists, pseudoscientists at that. Okay? And they don't have, they're not normal people. Their psychology is thrown off. They're crazy. Okay? But Jake is sitting up here arguing back and forth about eating meat from the halal mark. That's going to be the least of your problems real soon, buddy. Which that same nigga is on camera promoting In-N-Out Burger. Which that arc that here in this whole company is, you see that 1948 on there? It's supposed to be the Christian nationalist. This is food sacrifice to idols. Although what he brought out of this bag was not from In-N-Out Burger, which he's lying on camera. But just to show you the hypocrisy, I don't know. I wanted to do a video on how on the hypocrisy of this guy. But these niggas are just complete children. Meanwhile, the wicked elite are planning on doing some devious, demonic work on the earth.
So the oligarchic class bears little resemblance to the private face. I, like Fitzgerald, was thrown into the embrace of the upper crust when young. I was shipped off as a scholarship student at the age of 10 to an exclusive New England boarding school. I had classmates whose fathers they rarely saw, arrived at the school in their limousines, accompanied by personal photographers and at times their mistresses, so the press could be fed images of rich and famous men playing the role of good fathers. I spent times in the homes of the ultra-rich and powerful, watching my classmates, or children, callously order around men and women who worked as their chauffeurs, cooks, nannies, and servants. When the sons and daughters of the rich get into serious trouble, there are always lawyers, publicists, and political personages to protect them. George W. Bush's life, along with Donald Trump's, is a case study in the insidious affirmative action for the rich. The rich have a snobbish disdain for the poor despite well-publicized acts of philanthropy and the middle class. These lower classes are viewed as uncouth parasites, annoyances that have to be endured, at times placated, yet always controlled in the quest to amass more power and money. My hatred of authority, along with my loathing for the pretensions, heartlessness, and sense of entitlement of the rich, comes from living among the privileged. It was a deeply unpleasant experience, but it exposed to me their insatiable selfishness and hedonism. I learned as a boy who were my enemies. The inability to grasp the pathology of our oligarchic rulers is one of our gravest faults. We have been blinded to the depravity of our ruling elite by the relentless propaganda of public relations firms that work on behalf of corporations and the rich. Compliant politicians, clueless entertainers, and our vapid corporate-funded popular culture, which
You actually had a president candidate bring this nigga on stage. Right? This is where we live at. This is the world we live in. Who did that? Your elites keeps this degeneracy and division and weirdo, all right, madness in your face to keep you all distracted from what they're doing.
holds up the rich as leaders to emulate and assures us that through diligence and hard work we can join them, keep us from seeing the truth. They were careless people, Tom and Daisy. Fitzgerald wrote of the wealthy couple at the center of Gatsby's life. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness or whatever it was that kept them together and let other people clean up the mess they had made. Aristotle, Machiavelli, Alex de Tocqueville, Adam Smith, and Karl Marx all began from the premise that there is a natural antagonism between the rich and the masses. Those who have too much of the goods of fortune, strength, wealth, friends, and the like are neither willing nor able to submit to authority, Aristotle wrote in Politics. The evil begins at home, for when they are boys, by reason of the luxury in which they are brought up, they never learn, even at school.
See, the rich, all right, Job 21:7. Wherefore do the wicked live and become old? They are mighty in power. Their seed is established in their sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of the Most High upon them. Their bull gendereth and faileth not. Their cow calveth and casteth not her calf. This is pure meat. While they're telling you we got to give you a genetically altered cow. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance. They spend their days in wealth, and in a moment go down to the grave. Therefore they say unto the Most High, depart from us, for we desire not thy ways. As the scriptures say, what has you to do to declare my statutes, seeing that you hate instruction? Okay? Verse 29, have you not asked them that go by the way, and do you not know their tokens, that the wicked is reserved unto the day of destruction, and they shall be brought forth into the day of wrath? Okay? Who shall declare his way unto his face, and who shall repay him for what he have done? And that's what we're here to do. Okay? Because the amount of resources and riches you have while everybody else is in this rat race, poverty, hunger, all over the earth is a witness against your rulership. And it's going to lead to the Lord starting a war that's going to have you through. James 5:4, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and have been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. Okay? Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. All right? Jake's still going to work. Still, hoping you ease up. People haven't, Jake hasn't formulated a rebellion against Esau like that, but it's coming. See? You're defrauding men and women of their pay. Okay, let's read this in the NLT. This is all being done by the rich. For listen, hear the cries of the field workers whom you have cheated of their pay. And not we witnessing that right now? Okay? People are hurting. Protesting. Hurt, broke, complaining. All we got to do, all we got to do is just look it up. And I guarantee you there's videos of people complaining. Let's go here. Hurt. Gas prices out of control. Everybody's just complaining.
Y'all better stay off them damn planes. Talking about you going away for the holiday. You do know the government has been shut down for 37 days. And these people that work in those airports are not getting paid. Let me say that to you again. The people that work in the airports, government workers are not getting paid. So how the...
Oh my gosh. What?
Hi, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much.
That thousands of flights could be canceled starting on Friday. So basically what's happening is airports across the country are seeing major staffing shortages when it comes to air traffic controllers, TSA workers. So the FAA has made the decision to cut the number of flights by 10% at 40 major airports across the country. Now 10% may not sound like a lot, but we're talking thousands of flights every single day in America. So what this means is that thousands of flights could be canceled, impacting hundreds.
So people are just catching hell. You know, we ain't got to sit up and listen, you know.
Something my mom taught me a long time ago, and you should know that my mom is 93 years old. 94.
Life hacks for surviving inflation. Okay? Grocery prices out of control.
Hey, Shelly, I had a friend in town last weekend, and her brother texted her while we were hanging out and said, guess how much I just spent for groceries at Walmart in North Carolina. Y'all will never guess. Here's a picture of the cart. We've got spinach, bagels, looks like a whole carrot cake, which is great. I love that choice. We've got a Halo Top, Ben & Jerry's. That can be pretty expensive. Salsa, sweet potatoes, some prepackaged salad mixes, frozen veggies, case of Miller Lite. We've got organic grass-fed beef. Here's tortillas. It looks like it's keto, so that could be higher price. And maybe a couple of other things. There's a layer here that we can't really see. What do y'all guess the price is for this cart? $496.
God damn.
In North Carolina.
Now y'all see all of this? Green peppers, yellow peppers, red peppers, broccoli.
So that was expensive.
And, you know, tariffs, you know, taxes, all, everything's, you know, falling on the working class. November 1st, 2025, first government-sanctioned Hunger Games. May the odds always be in your favor. The wealthy want us to beg them for laboratory meat and roach milk until we're priced out of those as well. Okay? Record profits while people struggle. This is Hunger Games 2.0. So, it doesn't have to be like this. It isn't supposed to be like this. So people are kind of, you know, figuring out what's going on. Okay? Let's see what this.
Welcome to Democracy Now! Democracy Night, a group of 7 Democratic senators ratified a deal with Republican senators to approve a bill to reopen the government and end the longest shutdown in U.S. history. The bill...
And the damage is already done. And not everybody who was furloughed are going to get back pay. Okay? And I believe this funding is only for a particular amount of time, so it may be another shutdown in the future. Trump hanging out with the terrorists on Veterans Day is such a slap in the face. They're just murdering people. These devils are just, and we'll come back to this, but these devils are just on a, you know, they're defrauding you of your pay. Let's get that. Sirach 34:19. The Most High is not pleased with the offerings of the wicked, neither is he pacified for sin by the multitude of sacrifices. This sacrifice is getting ready to be rejected. Whoso bringeth an offering of goods of the poor does it as one that killeth the son before his father's eyes. Okay, and that's what he's doing, man. Playing with the poor. The bread of the needy is their life. He that defrauded him thereof is a man of blood. He that taketh away his neighbor's living slayeth him, and he that defrauded the labor of his hire is a bloodshedder. So this is what Esau Edom is doing. Now they're telling you, we're going to, you know, although robots are going to take all your jobs, We got a universal income that's gonna help your ass.
Our business, and he made claims about what they will be able to accomplish.
People often talk about.
Let's go all the way.
Audix, he said the robots will be bigger than the company's car business, and he made claims about what they will be able to accomplish.
People often talk about like eliminating poverty, giving everyone amazing medical care. Well, there's actually only one way to do that, and that's with Optimus Robot. With humanoid robots, you can actually give everyone amazing medical care.
Musk didn't give a date for hitting those goals and talking about all that. Joining me now is Brett Winton, ARK Invest chief futurist, who spends a lot of time thinking about these future sort of possibilities. Brett, it's great to have you here. Of course, ARK is an investor in Tesla, and you guys were in favor of this pay package for Elon Musk. What do you think now does this unlock? Now that this hurdle is sort of behind the company, what does this mean for Tesla and the next step forward?
I think it's great for Tesla. I think it really opens up the option value into the humanoid robot opportunity. And, he mentioned investing in their own single source fab. So it allows him to really push the company towards the future. Without Elon's leadership, I think it would be very tempting for shareholders to try to extract the rents off the robotaxi business without really investing. But ultimately, the humanoid robot opportunity is, in order for that to be larger than robot.
See the robot doing a Dion, doing a Ray Lewis dance. But these things are sent here to enslave your ass. Okay? And they're going to tell people, okay, we don't need humans for jobs anymore. We don't need humans for this. We don't need humans for that. Okay? So pretty much you will be subject to a universal income, and you don't have to worry about working anymore. But what do you think that's going to lead to? Do you think something good is going to come from that? No, because this technology could actually help human beings in this earth if he did it in righteousness, but he ain't gonna do it in righteousness. And the cries of the elect who are suffering at this devil's hands are going up to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. This is madness.
Taxi, and so I think it's worth the investment it will take. And it will take a lot of investment. I think there's going to be a lot of money that pushes into developing out the humanoid program, and I think he's the right person to lead that transition.
I'm going to focus on one word you said, which is ultimately. Because as we know, Tesla and Elon Musk specifically have a history of these big ambitious goals, many of which he meets eventually or ultimately. But he tends to push back that timeline quite.
Yeah, it's going to eliminate poverty and provide medical care. They can eliminate poverty easily. But see, again, they love to control poverty. That's what this government is good. That's what Esau Edom is good at. Not eliminating poverty, but controlling it. You see, as a matter of fact, let's go here. All right. Where Trump, again, floats the idea of giving $2,000 to most Americans. Okay, we're a little all over the place, but there's just a lot going on.
How close are you to trade deal if you're
right.
willing to consider lowering the current tariff rate?
Well, right now the tariffs are very high on India because of the Russian oil, and they've stopped doing the Russian oil. It's been reduced very substantially. Yeah, we're going to be bringing the tariffs down. I mean, at some point we're going to be bringing them down. Without tariffs, this country would be in such trouble, as they were for many years. That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about.
So the middle class, he's promising you
$2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the number.
Now, mind you, the tariffs have you paying higher prices for everything. The data centers have you paying higher energy prices. Okay. Again, when you deal with a tariff, I typed in here, do consumers end up paying higher prices as a result of tariffs? Yes, in most cases. Just like at the end of the year or the beginning of a year, you get a tax return. You know that's your money, right? But you look at it as a sigh of relief. That's the same thing this is. You see? well, if you put it in my account, I'll spend it, but this isn't doing nothing for the. What are people? What is $2,000 going to do? And then what? People are catching hell out here. $2,000 can go in 2 days, 1 day, 3 hours. Consumers do end up paying higher prices as a result of tariffs. A tariff is a tax the government charges on imported goods. So if the one who's giving the good has to pay higher taxes to import the goods, who's going to make up the difference? Who's going the working class, the people, the consumer? It is usually paid by importer business when the goods enter the country, not directly by consumers. But the cost doesn't stop there. So if the importer has to pay higher taxes, okay, well, who's going to make up the difference? How the cost passes to consumer. When importers have to pay higher taxes on goods they bring in, they often raise prices to cover those new costs. Buy from more expensive domestic suppliers. Either way, the final retail price often goes up. And this is what we're seeing here in America. If a $100 product from China gets hit with a 25% tariff, the importer now pays $125 to keep profit margins. The store may charge $130 to $140, passing the cost to shoppers. Ripple effects. Tariffs don't just affect imported goods, they can raise prices for related products too. Domestic companies may raise their prices because foreign competition now costs more. Manufacturers who rely on imported parts like steel and microchips face higher production costs. Consumers see higher prices in everything from cars and applications to groceries and electronics. See that? So tariffs, yeah, okay, we got a little money from the tariffs we put. But who ended up paying more? The consumer. The poor. The poor have been catching all kind of hell with this administration. The working class, right? Ain't no middle class anymore. It's just the poor class. It's just within that you got upper poor, lower poor. Okay? Meanwhile, these corporations are just getting rich, balling out of control. Countries getting bailed out with billions of dollars. Israel getting billions of dollars. Ukraine getting billions of dollars. Billions of dollars going to AI projects and infrastructure for the MOTB. This man is the devil. So, in a nutshell, tariffs end up kicking the consumer in the ass. So now he's saying, well, we'll give you $2,000 as a result of the tariffs, but really you're just getting back, what you've paid in higher prices.
That's why we owe $38 trillion. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court.
And what are the MAGAs going to say? See, we told you, give him time and he'll come through. Meanwhile, your jobs are gone. People's lives are being ruined by not getting checks. And then he's threatening not to pay people back pay who were on furlough. They may reopen the government, but damage all right, is being done, and people are falling to their knees via perplexity. Okay? So Trump's going to give you 2,000 from out of tariff funding, which is money that you paid in. See, this person gets it. And due to the tariffs, the average family will pay $2,400 a year in increase on basic essentials. By midterms, you'll pay close to $5,000. So to get your vote, he's going to give you 2,000 of your own money back. The last time Trump gave the American people money, you paid that money back with interest at 10% over a 10-year window. Please explain to me where the logic is in this, except for the fact that he's buying your vote like he told you. He likes dumb people. They're easy to lead, so you're getting money back you paid and you're going to pay it back again with interest, real logical. So they tax you one way or another. Okay? Lying to the American people should be a crime. So people are waking up. He said he was going to give everyone $5,000 from Doge savings. And my thing is, okay, after they give you the $2,000 or the $5,000, then what? And then what? So we'll see. If it pops up in my account, cool. But we know that this place is gotta go, man. This is an Edomite right here. If you don't think that this is an Edomite, something's wrong with you. These are the Edomites. Look at this guy. This is an unfaithful man, man. And he's fattening the pockets of all of these trillionaires, billionaires with the AI infrastructure and everything else they're doing. Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, I'll give you $2,000, nigga. Here, shut up. So this is nothing but the starting point of a universal income being set up. Okay? As most people are going to start losing jobs to AI, corporations are going to just squeeze people out. What will be the solution? The solution will be, okay, we will give you a monthly stipend. Okay, and then eventually it will become digital. And this is going to be tied to a digital ID, and you already know the rest is history, man. Okay, and this is how they will what? They will control poverty, because they're not going to end it. All right, but to control it, and you vote for how they control it, or whoever the elite put as the face of how to control it. Okay, this is a video how politicians transform poverty into a weapon of control.
How certain social problems seem eternal, regardless of who is in power. How certain regions of the country never develop basic infrastructure, even when billions are announced in development programs.
Nothing is ever put in place to stop, all right, the system that's leading to all of this poverty. They just set up a way to control the poverty. This devil is something else, man. And then meanwhile, he's getting, they clap, all right, for the aid. They clap for the solution. But all he's doing is just controlling the poverty to lead you into what he wants to lead you to, which is the MOTB system. Proverbs 22:7, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Verse 16, he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. This is what's getting ready to happen to you devils, man. Rob not the poor, because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted and the gay. Why rob the poor? That you have to be a demonic, demented individual to play with the poor like that. while you sitting on trillions and gazillions and all of the resources of the earth to just love to see people suffer in a rat race. Proverbs 14:31. He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him hath mercy on the poor. Okay, the poor useth entreaties, but the rich answereth roughly. Proverbs 18:23. So yep. So this devil just keeps the psyop going. All right, but he always promises some form of, but they're almost to where they need to be. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. They're in straits to get this NWO popped off. That's why they're doing all of this mind games, keeping you in want, keeping you in hope. But again, they are the saviors. They're the ones that's going to save you from the problems they created. But the saving, as the scriptures say, damn, I had it up. The so-called saving you is associated with undermining you at the same time and putting you further in hell. Sirach 12:15. For a while he will abide with thee, but if you begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee in the pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. Okay? We got a solution. Let's give him $2,000. Yay, we knew Trump. All right, we knew he cared. Okay, but then you look up. Eventually, this is the standard of how you live now. A universal basic income, while a robot is just picking up 1 million boxes an hour. They no longer need your ass. The robot answering the phone. Robot serving food. Robot cleaning the bathroom. Robot breakdancing at halftime. No longer need a mascot, Thunder. This nigga hitting 8 backflips in a row. And we don't need him anymore. We don't got to pay him. We can just use the robots. It's going to save us so much money. All right. Meanwhile, what about human beings? Well, they told you they're not going to need you anymore. They're going to need you to be slaves in this new digital grid they set up. And if you want to live, nigga, here, $2,000 a month. That's what they're setting up. Okay? Inside the billionaire network shaping MAGA's post-Trump future. These billionaire technocrats are shaping your future right before your eyes, man. Meanwhile, they're controlling the poor and leading them into a system, all right, of the MOTB and bowing the knee to the image of Baal.
These are not coincidences. They are symptoms of a system that needs poverty as much as it needs your votes. A system that thrives not on solving, but on the permanent management of misery.
The permanent management of misery. That's all this $2,000 is. The permanent management of misery, to the point where you're going to eventually look up and be relegated to a 15-minute city, okay, in a carbon footprint system, man. Woo! The man. Let's rewind it. Rewind selector.
In suits planning misery. It is something more subtle and systemic. An arrangement where power perpetuates itself precisely by not solving fundamental problems, merely managing them. The cycle is perverse. Poverty generates dependency. Dependency generates votes. Votes generate power. Power maintains the system that generates poverty. All this while the official discourse promises exactly the opposite. The Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu, master of strategy, understood something similar when he said, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." In the political arena, the supreme art of control is to keep the people submissive without them realizing they are being controlled. Have you noticed how certain neighborhoods remain forgotten for decades? How certain social problems seem eternal, regardless of who is in power? How certain regions of the country never develop basic infrastructure, even when billions are announced in development programs? These are not coincidences. They are symptoms of a system that needs poverty as much as it needs your votes. A system that thrives not on solving, but on the permanent management of misery. The administration of scarcity becomes more politically lucrative than its elimination.
And see, the biblical laws that are going to be established in the earth would solve many of today's issues. That's what the throne of David offers, man. How would biblical laws fix many of today's problems, especially debt? Let's just exit that. Okay. And this is how I use, all right, so-called AI. All right. It's basically like now the rabbit has the gun, you know, as a wise person once told me. See, they have the riches and resources to fix a lot of the problems, but they don't do it. They just, control the problem. All right. And keep you in hope of them being a savior. And they've taken away hope from the Lord. Mind you, we're on the earth while all of this famine and wickedness is happening. What the earth is full of the answers. The Bible gives not only religious laws, but economic, social, and moral laws meant to build a just, balanced society. If applied today, biblical laws would fix much of what we call modern crisis: debt, inequality, and moral decay. Man, I love the fall. Looking out the window. I love the fall, man. I love the earth. It's just mismanaged. Biblical laws were built on balance, not greed. Deuteronomy 8 and 7 through 11. But the Lord thy God giveth thee into a good land. Thou shalt not forget the Lord thy God. The foundation of biblical economy was commitment and fairness. People were taught to labor honestly, lend with mercy, and remember the earth and the resources belong to the Most High, not corporations or banks. Debt laws. Okay. The year of release in Jubilee. At the end of the 7th year, thou shalt make a release. Every 7 year, all debts among Israelites were forgiven. This kept people from becoming permanent slaves to lenders and reset the economy. If we practice this today, it would end generational debt cycles, credit card bondage, and student loans, and predatory lending would collapse. Predatory capitalism. Okay? Capitalism is one thing, but predatory capitalism just takes it to a whole nother level, man, where you capitalize off of people's needs and wants and the ability to make it in your system. Okay, you just put hell on people. Beware of thee, Deuteronomy 15 and 9. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother. God saw withholding mercy and lending as a sin. Okay, the Jubilee year, every 50th year. Proclaim liberty throughout the land to all the inhabitants thereof. All right, basically there was a point where you would become free from debt. Here, it's just continual. And then you die and they send your family a bill. Every 50th year, land returned to its original family owner. Debt and servitudes were canceled. No one could permanently lose their inheritance. This law stopped corporate monopolies and generational poverty. If modern national nations obeyed it, massive wealth gaps and housing foreclosures would end. It would restore equality, dignity, and rest to workers on the land. No interest on brothers, no usury. Thou shalt not lend usury upon thy brother. All right. Now, we weren't supposed to put usury on Israelites, which is interest, but we can put usury on the heathen, but it was with balance. Charging interest to a fellow Israelite was forbidden. Money was to serve community needs, not profit off desperation. Imagine if modern banks operated this way. Housing, education, and business loans would not enslave people for decades. Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. Deuteronomy 25:13, thou shalt not have any bag in diverse weights. Biblical markets demanded honest pricing and fair measurement. See? Today's inflation, hidden fees, deceptive advertisement, even when you open up a bank account, pretty much within fine print, within the contract, they have the right to seize your money in place of a crisis. You don't know it, but this is why a lot of people are waking up to empty accounts. This thing is getting ready to get crazy. Why? Because, again, Salakia is a little long, but it's strong, right? Isaiah 24. And 4 and 5. The earth suffers for the sins of its people, for they have twisted God's instructions and violated his laws and broken his everlasting covenant. See that? Violating the laws of the Heavenly Father have led to this wickedness you see.
Control.
And these politicians are set up to just control the mess, not to fix it. So to hell with this system, man.
Poverty is not a flaw in the system. It is one of the central gears that keeps it functioning exactly as it was designed. Real power does not lie in creating poverty. It lies in managing it strategically. Modern political systems have refined this process to the point of turning it into an almost exact science, even if they never openly admit it.
Right.
Machiavelli understood that the art of governing is grounded in controlling expectations. He asserted that men, in general, judge more by their eyes than by their hands, because everyone can see, but few can feel. In practical terms, that means the appearance of help often has more political value than effective help. Watch how it works. A politician implements a social program that addresses immediate needs. Food, a minimal financial stipend, a basic basket. These actions are visible, photographable, publicizable. They generate immediate gratitude. But simultaneously, the structural reforms that would eliminate the need for these programs, quality education, infrastructure, real economic opportunities, remain perpetually in the realm of promises. The reason is simple. Definitively solving the problem means losing control over those who depend on the temporary solution.
See, these devils got to go, man. 2nd Esdras 11. Second Esdras 11, speaking to this fourth beast, which has been revived. Verse 41, for thou hast not judged the earth with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit. Now you in Sudan, now you in Nigeria, now you in Venezuela. Over 100+ conflicts he's in worldwide. He just don't stop, and has cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm. And Rome did this in a region of the earth. This modern day Rome is doing it worldwide. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up to the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty.
It is mathematically more advantageous for the politician to distribute basic baskets for 20 years, than to create a system in which people no longer need them after 5. The dependency cycle works like this. First, create policies that offer immediate relief, but not autonomy. Second, personalize the aid, associating it with the politician's figure, not the citizen's right.
See? And that's what this whole UBI is all about. All right? Manufacturing and controlling poverty, not fixing it. We'll do another lesson on this.
Third, feed the fear that without that specific politician, even that minimum would be lost. Fourth, repeat in electoral cycles, adjusting just enough to keep hope alive. This system of control becomes even more effective when people are so busy surviving that they cannot organize politically. As Aristotle observed more than 2 millennia ago, poverty is the mother of revolution and crime. Modern political systems have learned to manage this risk. They offer enough to prevent revolution, but not enough to allow true independence. Look at public education in many regions. It often exists in sufficient quantity for rulers to point to enrollment statistics, but with quality insufficient to form truly critical and independent citizens. That is not a systemic accident. It is a perfect balance for the maintenance of power. The most frightening thing. The system does not rely on Machiavellian politicians consciously planning misery. It perpetuates itself because the electoral rewards of maintaining the status quo are greater than those of transforming it radically. Even well-intentioned politicians end up captured by this perverse logic. Managed poverty thus becomes the perfect fuel for a political system that feeds on dependency and forced gratitude.
And this is where we find ourselves. I'll probably do another lesson on that video because there's so much coming out of it. But that's all this is, man. Okay? And, the Heavenly Father is getting ready to take these devils down, man. Okay? So yeah, the biblical laws, though you people hate them, especially you Israelites, are the answer to the earth's problems. That's why when the kingdom is set up, okay, in the true government of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, okay, reigns supreme, right? Micah 4:2, and many nations shall come and say, let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and a word of the Lord from Jerusalem. It's just that now the Lord is putting you in position to see why the laws of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai are needed. Okay, Micah 6:11. How can I tolerate your merchants who use dishonest scales and weights? The rich among you have become wealthy through extortion and violence. Your citizens are so used to lying that their tongues can no longer tell the truth. This is the situation we find ourselves in here on earth, man. Okay, this man ain't gonna stop being the devil. Okay, the rich elite only want more. All right, and before it gets better, it's gonna get worse, man. So I'll leave it there. Lord willing, y'all are edified. I had a few more things, but I think the time has been enough. So shalom.